We're all clear, but there'll be more. Echo 7, how's the transmission?
I just bypassed security. Transferring to R10 now.
Echo 2, we've got company. Let's make this quick.
Copy, Echo 9. R10, get ready for transmission. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Hoth Transmissions. Today we are going to be discussing the finale of Skeleton Crew. And like I said in the previous ones, I wasn't going to give my full opinion on the show until I saw how they wrapped everything up. And again, very disappointing because it's another short episode that it just kind of felt like it was rushed. And I don't really feel like we got a satisfying conclusion.
And that's the end of the episode. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yep, absolutely. It did have some the episode did have some highlights. It was kind of fun, adventures, action, and stuff like that. But it was just missing something.
As soon as I watched
100%.
it did not feel like. Not only did it not feel like a season finale, it didn't feel like a series finale at all. It was one of those ones where it was just open ended for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It is just so that we know that these characters might pop up somewhere in the future. I felt like Jod's character arc didn't finish at all. We don't know what happened to him. What is
No resolution with him.
Yeah.
Nothing whatsoever, and that is just, in my opinion, unacceptable. We have no idea what happened to him. Did he get arrested? What happened? Was he taken away from the planet? Was he not? Was he imprisoned in the planet? What's going to happen? I have no idea. The kids' whim is definitely going to be a part of the New Republic Air Force. That's the obvious part to me. I like that the parents had a little bit of agency in this, even though they were still background characters to the kids. Like that was the part that I liked. I felt like kids were finally not secondary characters and they had agency and they had things to do and they had a plan, and the experience that they have had in the outer galaxy has had some impact on the story. That is the only thing that I found satisfying about this episode. Other than that, again, I feel like somebody just cut the movie with the random scissor of let's make this into as equal runtime episodes as possible.
Right.
And yeah, I wish it wasn't like that. I think it was a waste of very good, because when I look at this as a whole, if I got the movie of this with the proper runtime and so on and so forth, I think it could have been great. Turning this into a TV show and editing it like this was a huge failure.
Yeah, and you bring up the parents. Like the dad himself, sorry Sam. The dad seemed like he was just mainly there for comic relief. The mom was more the serious person that was the one that's going to give the conflict. Should we break the barrier or not? Let's think of a different way. And then the other parents, like they built them up in the other episodes, but this one was just Wim and Fern's parents that really did anything. The other ones just kind of got forgotten.
Yeah.
No, I have to agree. You know, the episode, I'm not going to say the episode was awful. And, you know, I will say that as like the first key point here.
I mean, it was fun, but disappointing.
Yeah. Visually, I mean, the visuals on it were awesome. Like, Disney Star Wars has definitely stepped up in terms of the visuals. Like, I know with
I was going to say, because I put down I put down that the pirate ship coming out of the clouds looked amazing.
Oh man, like honestly, like the whole visuals, even the like, we'll break it down a bit, but there's key parts in it that you just look at it and it's like, oh my god, this is amazing. The cloud that surrounds the planet dispersing.
That was fantastic.
Honestly, like if I'm gonna say
Beautifully done.
if this show does not get nominated for an award because of the visuals, I will be surprised, because I think it deserves it. And that is the one good point I can say about this.
Yeah, no. Well, while it lacks good story direction, visuals makes up for it.
No, it doesn't make up for it. It just makes it tolerable.
Yes.
In my opinion,
Fair enough.
I can easily say that this was by far my favorite episode because of the visuals, and it was rushed, yes, but again, I didn't fall asleep. So there was action to follow, but at some point, it was so much that I lost track of what was happening where. That is also probably one of the minus sides of having a kind of ensemble cast where you have to follow so many different characters. And because they were so off with the pacing for the first half of the season, they could not give each character their own arc to complete within the right time. If they pulled the season finale to like season finale part 1 and part 2 of 45 minutes, I think they would have possibly done more justice to the show. But they didn't, and they crammed everything into one episode, and it just didn't at least quite hit the mark, in my opinion. But overall, I made my opinion very clear about the show, and I was not very disappointed. We were saying either the supervisor is going to end up being someone that's going to be quite significant and so on and so forth, and we're going to have a good reveal there, or it's going to be nothing. And it was that. I think the supervisor reveal was quite disappointing.
Didn't I say last week it was going to be a robot?
I think we both discussed that last week, yes.
Yeah. I had naively believed maybe it was because, what was then the point of this entire pirate ship and the pirate captain and the fact that he deleted the maps locations to all add planets, this and that? What was the point of this?
Yeah,
it led nowhere.
Another open-ended.
Oh, yeah. We don't call it open-ended, we call it unsatisfying.
That's fair.
Pointless.
I will completely agree. I just want to say as well quickly on the ending, which was epically rushed and led to nowhere and was pointless for an ending. As much as I don't want to admit this, because we know my feelings on the Bad Batch got it right. Can we just take a second to say that on this day I have said the Bad Batch did something right with their ending, with that time jump to see Omega in the future. I think that this show would have or should have done the same sort of thing, where we see not like adult kids, but more like teenage or late teenagers going into work and finding out what happened, which is where I thought it was heading. When we saw the blockade runner flying over the planet, I was like, right, we're going to get a time jump and it's going to be cool because we'll see where the characters are. Cue end credits. And I was like, oh, right.
Just kidding. And his assessment, it was brought up 3 times. if it was going to lead nowhere, why was it like we had 2 episodes inside Wim's school with regards to his assessment? Why?
Yeah.
I think at this point it just became a running joke.
That's so bad. The fact that they made fun of their own bad writing, I can't handle that. It's so bad.
No, I think it's just like the whole idea of the assessment. It's like, well, if it's pointless now, it's like the galaxy is open. It's like I don't have to do the great work anymore. I think they're just kind of. I think that's why they kind of spent so much time on it in the beginning to show that they had this system that worked and they had to get put through an assessment. And when was that kind of wrench in the machine? It's like, well, I don't want to do any of that. And so now they spent way too long about talking, like you said, the 2 episodes in the school with the assessment. They did take way too long describing it. But it's just kind of funny, like in the finale, they're like, oh, I guess I don't have to take it anymore. It's like this planet's pointless now that it's open.
So many questions, so
Really.
few answers.
And I think that's why I give my overall thinking of the show as disappointing. It's actually the word that I want to say. Disappointing is because the lack of answers that we got.
I'm going to be controversial. Shocking, I know, Mister. Let's agree
Sam,
with Order
controversial?
66.
Never.
I know. But
He's the Order 66 architect.
take out all of the Star Warsness of this show, and it's enjoyable.
Yeah.
It is still a badly written show.
I mean, in the sense of
It's just Treasure Island in space. That's all it is.
Yeah. Make it slightly more swashbuckly in space,
Mm-hmm.
and it's tolerable. It's better, but the problem we had throughout the whole season is too many questions, no answers. We've got answers that then led to more questions. Like even now, the supervisor. Are the supervisors on the other planets robots or are they human? Like,
Yeah, because when we went to that other planet, when they went up to the place, it was just a bunch of pillars. It didn't look anything like this supervisor tower.
So it's literally like, why, unless they're setting up for something else again, which, in all honesty,
Or it's a different level.
I would hate. I don't want more stuff. Like, this should have been the movie that we was promised ages ago, and I would have been fine with it if it was edited properly. Fluffy is right. The pacing was way off. Like,
look,
that's my thing. Is just because there's been a lot of projects that have kind of failed, that a lot of expectations came into the show, and it just didn't reach the expectations that we had. So I agree with Sam. Like if this came out as one of the first projects that Disney brought out, I think there'd be less of an issue at that point.
yeah.
Nope.
I think I would have been looking at it way differently.
Nope. Look, we have to stop making excuses for this whole thing. Okay, let's go back. Let's just forget about the whole pacing and this and that. What was the point of this whole show? Why is there even a planet called Aten, or there are multiple planets like that? Who came up with this entire idea? What is the entire point of this project? What is happening?
I think it kind of falls into that thing where they're introducing something and they've got a plan down the road to finish it, but they're just giving us a piece without any kind of direction. And so it's just like when they introduced the Saws Ventress into the Bad Batch. It's like she was in there, kind of a wasted moment, and then it just became pointless because like, okay, well, That was
It's
cool,
just
but
too
why?
much. It's too much. If they want to do that, they should have also been able to introduce it properly.
Mhm.
We got bits and pieces. Why would I want to follow any other show or any? This is, I think they are forgetting about the fact that this is still hours taken away of our lives.
Mhm.
Why would I invest even more time into something that is developed basically half something movie?
Mhm. So, I mean, this is kind of where I think it kind of fails because, like, American television used to be where if you got a full season, it was like 22 to 24 episodes.
Yeah.
And now that we've jumped onto streaming, we're kind of more adopting the European
8 to
style. It
10.
was like the series, the longer episodes but shorter seasons. But with something with this kind of story where we're left with more questions than answers, that I think they're kind of falling into another, I want to say, formula. It's like, okay, well, we're gonna do another Star Wars show. Okay, 8 episodes. That's all we're gonna budget for. Like if it had more episodes or longer run times, I feel like maybe the writers and directors were all being rushed and given strict conditions on runtime and all that. So they had to cut out, or they weren't able to tell the full story that they probably wanted. Like you said, because like we have recently seen that they had an actress that was going to portray Jod's master. Like they
Mhm.
had scenes already done. We saw behind the scenes stuff with her in costume, and they completely cut that out, which would have
I'm
given
glad
And
more
about that.
depth to his character.
that's what I'm saying. That is what I'm saying. And you are 100% right about this runtime versus story. They gave us Friends runtime with Game of Thrones story. That cannot work. We cannot watch 25 to 30 minutes of strict runtime without the intro, without the what is I cannot I for the life of me cannot remember the word for previously on blah blah whatever,
Oh,
and
recap.
then the end credits, the recap. Thank you. Like like they are trying to do world building in a sense that is so detailed, like maybe Game of Thrones, Lord of the Rings level, with because this planet thing with the Aten and the rest of them, it has so much potential and it probably has a lot of lore. But they
Mhm.
are taking it and trying to squish it into Friends runtime of 25 to 30 minutes. It doesn't work. It can't work. And I don't
Yeah,
understand how this is not so obvious. But
and
Yeah.
this is
again, as I'm saying, I think the rumors are true. This was a movie, it was cut. I just think this is the worst decision ever to cut it like that. But I also understand it would have been impossible to attract crowds into the movie theaters with this premise. I
mhm.
understand this as well.
Well,
Yeah,
maybe not impossible because it was designed for kids. So I
this
think
is
it would
true.
have been a good jumping in point for parents to take, fans like that are our age to take their younger kids to the movies to see this film about space pirates and have, kids off having an adventure. I will agree that the editing was awful. Definitely. I'm I'm again with me, surprised. I'm not annoyed that they cut the young Jod scenes with the with the Jedi that found him, simply because at this point I don't care. Like we know what happened in Order 66. As much as I like, say it's a good idea. Like
It
we've already
probably would have
seen.
been another Order 66 scene.
Yeah,
I mean,
yes. we've seen it so many times. Like, we don't need to keep re-seeing. It's like Batman, where every Batman movie has its
His origin.
story.
100%. I am 100% with you on that. The Order 66 part we didn't have to see. But the thing is, imagine, this is also like this background is very good for exposition. Imagine, like, think about Harry Potter and Deathly Hallows and the Tale of the Three Brothers.
Hmm.
That was such fantastically done exposition. And they could have done this with this Jedi Master. We could have had the entire dialogue of Jod telling the kids of his past, just voicing over frames with his his life. This
Yeah,
would have
and
worked.
I mean, they did that in Vader Immortal, and it worked really well
And we
with that same
know
type
that
of
they can make
exposition.
those things work. We know that. They have done it
Mhm.
before. It works when it's well done. But the problem is, in my opinion, in this show, everything was really done just for doing it. It was not considered at length. I feel like it was rushed in every step of the way, and the final edit shows.
Mhm.
Because I refuse to believe that a team of people sat down, watched the final product, and were like, yes, that is it. No.
Yeah, but we had that with the Acolyte, and look how that went.
Like,
we
that's
gotta
what I'm
mention it at
trying
least
to
once every episode.
tell you. The Acolyte wasn't as bad as the Skeleton Crew.
It was.
It was not.
Acolyte was worse. I would watch Skeleton Crew over Acolyte any day.
I
You
mean,
know my
we-
reasons. You know my reasons. It's the acting. The acting was just atrocious. I cannot
Nope.
stand the twins.
yeah.
Cannot stand the twins, but the rest of the
Everybody else did.
cast was
Everybody else did well.
fantastic.
I'll give everybody else. Everybody else did well. It's the twins that just sucked.
Exactly. The twins could have been
Apart-
recasted.
Apart
And
from
maybe
the
Venestra.
writing, the writing was awful. Venestra was
Yeah.
awful, including Yoda was awful.
The-
Mundi was awful. Like, what was the point in that? But anyway,
Whatever.
the whole show
Okay,
was
it's
awful.
cancelled. It's
Had as
gone.
much point as the Skeleton Crew is all you got to say.
They killed off the love of my life. It's fine. Everything is okay. Let's move
And then
on.
continue with your new one.
They killed the love of my life and canceled my new husband. Okay,
But to get back
whatever.
on topic,
Skeleton Crew
like
is
with
garbage.
with the just to get back on track, I actually don't think the Jedi Master scene would have been another Order 66, just based off of how he described it, because he mentioned that he was struggling for food. All he cared about was not starving. Then this Jedi finds him, teaches him a little, and then he mentions that she was hunted down, and then he was forced to watch her get killed.
Order
And
66.
I feel like maybe it was pirates that kind of over. It could have been a different way that she died. Didn't have to be Order 66. Because
I mean,
John's
you're probably
knowledge of Order 66 seemed very minimal to me. Like, he knows the Jedi are gone, but Wim goes and tells a story about the Jedi, and
No,
he didn't
and
retort at all.
he says he was not taken to the Jedi Temple. He was not a Padawan. He is
Mhm.
mentioning that the Jedi Master was hunted down. So this was post Order 66. At least that is where I put it, taking in
Yeah,
the
it
facts.
could have been an Inquisitors. Inquisitors are like cats that like to play with their food.
Mm-hmm.
So they probably captured the Jedi Master and
Definitely.
made Jod watch her get killed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
this
that
was,
seems like something the Inquisitors would do.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but again, it's just one of those things that we don't need to see.
No.
Only
I
thing
think
that we need to see of Jedi getting hunted down is not by Inquisitors.
Yeah.
We need to see a movie with Vader hunting Jedi.
Yes.
That would be something that I would be okay with if they're going to revisit hunting Jedi.
Yeah.
It's got to be a show about Vader.
See, I think the flashback scene. I think I know why I wouldn't have liked to have seen it in this, and it is because of the acolyte doing the flashback episode so close to the end.
That's fair.
If we
That's
had
fair.
the flashback scene in the last episode, it would have killed the story dead more than the story was already killed dead.
Well, okay. Well, this is where it'd be different, though. Like, Acolyte dedicated episodes to flashbacks.
Yeah.
This would be just kind of like a little moment. Kind of like how they did in Kenobi with Reva.
See, that, to me, that kind of worked. Because...
They didn't dwell on it.
Yeah, whereas this...
It was like a minute at most.
Yeah. Yeah, where to me, it had no part of the story. You know, it would have just been, oh, here's a bit about my history that nobody really asked for, but I'll show it anyway.
Yeah, and I think that's why it kind of fit better with him just explaining, just telling the quick story, and then moving on to the next part. So while I'm disappointed I didn't get to see his Jedi Master, just because I feel bad for her, because they did scenes like that with Mon Mothma and Revenge of the Sith, and they completely cut her out.
Yeah.
But I can understand why they did it.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, any other story, yes, I would happily see it. In this one, at this point, where we've got so many other questions already with no answers, it would have been, I mean, for it to be a proper scene of young Jod being found to what I'm assuming would be the Jedi Master being hunted down and killed, we're talking like 5-10 minutes, and that's 5-10 minutes of an episode that I don't want to see. Like, don't take me out of the story halfway through the story. You know, it's...
I would agree with you on there. I would have liked maybe if it was integrated into, like, if we actually saw an outcome to Jod's story. Like, if he was, I don't know, like, you know, life flashing before your eyes kind of moment.
Like Grogu.
Yeah, like that I would have been at least like flashes off. Because I honestly, truly don't think we need 5 minutes of flashback. I don't want any flashback.
Yeah, because they did that with Grogu in Mandalorian.
Yeah. Grogu Mandalorian flashback. I was fine with that. Because we would just have like frames of it. I would have been okay with it if it was for Jod as well.
I think that maybe if there was like the time skip and we got the resolution on the characters, we could have had Jod sat somewhere with, like, maybe in the school with a bunch of kids, and it would be him telling the story of how he got found and what he went through. I think that scene would have worked well there, and then we saw, you know, we saw the kids grown up. That would have been better, but that's the only way I could see it working ever.
For
I do have to say,
becoming the next supervisor and being like, this is how we got rid of the barrier. This is how we opened our planet to the rest of the galaxy.
I mean, they could open up for 10 seasons. They could turn it into a How I Met Your Mother style show.
I will. Don't you dare even.
All right, kids. Let me tell you how I met.
Oh my god! I'm gonna yarf.
But
nope.
I don't know. The more that I see this show, I think I'm agreeing with Fluffy a lot more on we didn't need a Jedi, and I think Jod being Force sensitive was completely pointless to the story. Just because every time he turned on the lightsaber at the most random times, like it started off with him holding a lightsaber in front of the droids and everybody's like, "Oh yeah, I've got a lightsaber," totally an emissary. But the tone made it seem like he was about to kill them, and then completely switched gears immediately. And he just seemed very clumsy with the lightsaber.
Thank you. Thank you for mentioning this. I was also very unhappy with the use of lightsaber in the last episode. The way he would, like, what is that? What are you doing?
So on the ship with the
No.
kids.
Pirate,
Just,
like a cutlass.
Yeah, that's how a pirate uses a lightsaber.
just respect the weapon that we have all grown to love. Just respect it.
I'm
don't
just
have to
saying
use
it
it as
can't
a
get any
sword.
worse than how Ryan Johnson disrespected the lightsaber.
No. I found that we have completely different opinions on this, and I found
Okay,
that
I can't wait till we get to the movie to discuss it.
super funny.
Yeah.
I found it super funny because that was the point of it. That was like Luke being a grumpy old man. Whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. We
I
are gonna come to
The
that
uncivilized.
I'll agree with the we did not need a Jedi in this, and it reminded me of Sabine in Ahsoka. Like there was no need.
Yeah,
for
Sabine
her
was
to-
pointless. Yeah,
Yeah, like
she
there
was
was no
already
need
cool
for her
enough
to-
just being a Mandalorian.
Yeah, exactly. You know, we had the whole Rebels story arc with her. You know, we grew up, or we watched her character grow. We did not need her to be Force sensitive and then be a Jedi. Like there was no need.
And it's always going to be Tiya Sakar for me for Sabine. I just couldn't see this new actress as Sabine, especially with the voice.
Yeah, and then for us to get yet another Jedi or Force sensitive person that was a pirate as well. It was like just either pirate
That is true.
or
I'll take
Jedi.
the judge quote right here. He's like, you called me a Jedi. I never said I was. And
I mean, it was. And I'm saying this was so. The entire thing was so useless. Why? What is the point of this thing? Like, Jod. I mean, looking at the end of it, Jod was. He does not have a beginning. He does not have an end. The character just pops up somewhere, affects some things. We also don't know in what proportion that it affects. Is that just the planet? Is there a larger scale to these things? No clue. Completely
why had the
pointless.
Republic have forgotten about him?
And then on top of it, you stick a lightsaber in their hand, you make them force sensitive, and be like, ta-da! This is Star Wars. What I didn't understand, for example, there was I honestly did not think Jod was going to try and take control of the planet. Because in that mint was more than enough money for 7 entire lifetimes for his entire crew.
Yeah,
That
But
was
he's
also
greedy.
super. Of course, I understand like that, but the thing is, he knows where the planet is. He knows how to get in there. He has all of the tools, but he does strategically he takes the worst set of decisions possible.
Yeah.
That is
as soon
He
as they
seemed
got rid of the barrier though and opened up the planet to the galaxy, they also then put a target on the planet for every other pirate in the universe, as it would be.
but the barrier was taken down because of the X-Wing fighters, not for the pirate ship. Of course,
is true.
logically, it could have been that after the pirate ship has left, they could have taken down the thing so that they could call for the new republic, and then like it's a whole other discussion.
Yeah,
But they had more than enough time to actually take out the entire mint, whatever they had there, and then go with it.
Yeah, I mean the X-wings.
Yeah.
There's no better pirate busters in the galaxy.
Oh
I-
God, that was so. Okay, no. Yes.
Yeah, I hated that line. I thought it was super. There's a lot of cheesiness in this episode.
Yep.
You're dealing
You're
with a
gonna be
level.
there quicker than 2 flaps because I'm an owl.
That was cringe, not cheese. I'm gonna say.
Okay,
Whatever it
that's
was, it was
okay. That's hey, you're
There's
talking to a level 7 systems coordinator. Don't get me wrong. I actually love the dad. The dad was really cool. He's kind of like that stereotypical nerd. He's got the glasses. He kind of has that nasally voice sound, and I liked his role. Like he came off as the comic relief. Like the only reason he was there was just to be funny or to add humor without trying. And then, of course, he does get his moment to be a hero at the end, which pretty brave to go sit there and punch Jod.
I mean, you could see that coming, but at the same time, it was so
Because he did this.
satisfying.
Like, what was that? I was like, what is happening?
When he
That-
closes his fist, yeah. Because
That was
it's
very
interesting.
Back to the Future.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys remember that scene where George McFly is about to punch Biff.
Yeah.
He does like the shaking, and then it felt very much like an homage to that.
But that is.
That's fair. I mean, it's kind of interesting because you got these kids that go on an adventure and they learn about the galaxy, they build up the courage, and they're able to do these things that they wouldn't have been able to do if they'd stayed on the planet the pirates showed up in the first place.
Yeah.
And then, as little as we have had of the parents in the previous episodes and the very small development, that now we got only 2 of the parents are kind of it's like, okay, we've been questioning things, we've been kind of sneaking around, and this is our moment to shine. And now we're building the courage too. And that's why I feel like the barrier had to come down for that reason. Because, I mean, you go off on this adventure or you start questioning and you start changing your character and different from the routines that you are set. And then say they thwarted the pirates and the pirates left and they were able to be success and the barrier was still there. Now you got these people going, okay, well, I was able to do this back to the normal routine. They're going to start feeling like something's missing. So the barrier had to come down because that opens up, especially for like Wim, who's dreaming of the stars. You know he's not going to stay on that planet, especially after that adventure.
True. That is true, but it is. I mean, I don't see basically any significance to the barrier coming down because we learn in the previous episode that all of the adults know what is going on with the barrier.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the children that they're hiding it from. And
yeah, but the parents acted differently.
Know about it. I know, but the thing is, the parents actually that is also one of the things that disappointed me the most about this, because even though they knew the truth partially or not, we knew that all of the parents actually knew the truth.
Mm-hmm.
Fern's mom knew that the supervisor was a droid. The parents knew the truth about the barrier.
The Great Work
We
demands
don't know what is it about the Republic, New Republic, whatever, but that like they are very much willingly a part of this great
it.
work.
Mm-hmm.
And that is super disappointing to me that we have absolutely no clue about what the great work is at the end of this whole 8-season show.
Making
Oh
gold.
my God. I said 8 seasons. This is going to be 8 seasons.
8 episodes.
Whole 8 episodes show.
I think like the great work is just the production of the galaxy's currency.
I hope not. I hope not. That would be so unsatisfying. I
Underwhelming. It'd be
hope
very underwhelming.
it completely. I hope there is at some point another type of reference and the great work is something else than that. And I do not want to learn about what the great work is in terms of the skeleton crew. But if I get to know what the great work is within other media and
We will.
maybe a movie, a show, whatever, at some point, I would be super happy.
It's
But
going to
if
tie
the
into
great work,
Ahsoka season 2. The great work. It's the Father, the Daughter, and the Son. We obey them.
oh no,
I
The world between worlds.
no, don't
that
do
would
that.
be that would be interesting. I'll agree with Fluffy, but I don't want it to be like a specific major plot point. To a degree, like mentioning it a couple of times is okay. Kind of again, why am I saying this about the Bad Batch and why I'm now enjoying that more? What is wrong with it? But that mentioned Project Necromancer, which we know ties into a few other projects further down the line.
Mhm.
I would say something like the Great Work would be good if it did the same sort of thing, like tied in with something that maybe mentioned in Ahsoka or any
100%.
anything. Just
I mean,
don't focus on it.
imagine the great work was the framework of all of those things that we're going to see in the future being financed and so on and so forth.
Yeah,
Why not? 100%. I'm okay with that. That adds up. But at the moment, it's just poof. It's nothing.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's another
Within
unanswered
the,
question.
yeah,
It's like
within the
the
skeleton work, skeleton work, within the skeleton crew, it is, it just ends up being nothing.
Yeah,
yeah, because I mean, this takes place around Mandalorian season 3, I believe, or is it the first season of Mandalorian? No, this takes place around the ending of Mandalorian season 3. So I'm gonna assume that with the fall of the Republic, this great work got forgotten, and the Empire never touched it. And maybe with the New Republic, they might do something where they're going through the records, kind of like what they did with Rogue One, where they mentioned the Death Star. But no, they mentioned something else. And when they're going through the files to find the Project Stardust, like actually no, that's what it was. They found something that was the hyperspace travel thing through ships or something. Like they did a reference, a small little reference, not a big part of the whole story, but it's like, oh yeah, okay, we're acknowledging this and then moving on.
I just had a thought, because if this is set after or around the same time as the ending of season of Mando, we've got an entire Mando movie and no barrier to protect a planet that didn't exist until now. What is the betting that we're going to end up back on Atatin?
What I was thinking was this was going on, this was in the works for much longer. And for example, how were the clones financed and how was the entire war machine of the Empire was financed and so on and so forth. Now, what I was thinking was because the rest of the galaxy is referring to the Republic as the New Republic, while the Aten people are still referring to it as the Republic. So I'm thinking this has been going on I mean, to be fair, also, we require more than the lifespan of one human being. Fern's mom is not that old,
Yeah,
and she would have been able to see the fall of the Republic, the rise of the Empire, and then the fall of the Empire within her lifespan as well. So I think
that's
this has been going on much longer than what we are at least
yeah.
theorizing it to be.
I mean, for me, the time scale of the things is like, it would be great to know when this whole thing started and what its original purpose was, because obviously there are other planets. We know that from the show. So it's like, is each one a manufacturing planet? Does each one have, or did each one have the barrier around it to sort of hide itself? And if that's the case, when the Republic fell to the Empire, did the Empire actually know that these planets fully existed? And that's kind of my theory why the Empire just left them alone, because they had no intention of wasting time to try and find a legend. I mean, it was mentioned in the show that Atatan is a myth. So why chase that myth when you can just rule the Empire?
I mean, the
But then
thing
it falls
is,
into
so
legend.
Atten is a mint, and we're talking about an emissary and so on and so forth, but is this mint not taking any of the credits out? How long have they not been contacted by an outside planet, force, republic, empire, whatever?
Was it
The
not mentioned in the episode though that it's been ages since they saw an emissary?
an emissary, exactly. But that does not mean that they have not been sending out ships with shipments and so on and so forth. Just because they were not being inspected
Do they
does
have
not mean.
ships?
I'd probably say at least maybe 25 years, considering it's been 5 years since the fall of the Empire, and then the Empire ruled for about 19 to 20 years. And so I'd say at least 25 years they haven't seen an emissary, because we learned from the supervisor. The supervisor is very aware that the Jedi were executed, and so the supervisor knew the Empire existed.
That is true. That is very true. What I will concede to is that these open questions make the show more interesting than what the show actually is. I hope that at some point we will get some more world building about this, because it is raising quite a few interesting questions. But it is such a shame that we didn't finally, for once in our Star Wars fan lives, very neatly packed. This is the beginning of the story, this is the end of the story, and this is the entire thing.
Yeah.
That I would have appreciated a lot, but I guess that is not what being a Star Wars fan is.
I will say as well that you are right about the timings and the structure of these episodes being that they wanted sitcom timings to action movie quality, and it's one of those things that just doesn't work. You can't have one and the other. It's either pick one. But I think, and again, I can't believe I'm saying this, that's why the Bad Batch worked. Seriously, guys, what is wrong with me?
Sam, I think you need to see a doctor.
I know. I think I should. But no, I mean, the Bad Batch
Should seek out Dr. Afra.
Bad Batch, designed for kids. As a cartoon, I know it's a cartoon, but it was still half an hour.
And an animated series.
Yeah, that worked well. The story was like, I don't want to talk about the story, but the actual way that the series worked was, you had half-hour episodes that kind of went from one to the next, but it was structured as the fact it was a kids show. For me, and it was very apparent in this episode, it was still struggling to find its identity. Like the Skeleton Crew, Skeleton Crew is a small amount of crew on a ship. That's the literal definition of what a Skeleton Crew is. We had that with the kids. They were the Skeleton Crew.
And KB all by herself.
Kind of all by herself. I have a question on that.
And
as
a
well.
robot head.
Yeah, well, robot head and body that was detached from the head, but the body worked independently with the head. How did that work?
Bluetooth.
I mean, it was no.
Bluetooth.
It was attached by a cable.
Was it? Did
Yeah,
I
it was attached by
completely
a
miss
cable.
seeing a
No,
single cable?
I mean, it doesn't
No,
matter though.
because I
think
I agree with
it's
that. Actually, Fluffy's
unrealistic.
right. Because KB's the technician, so she was able
mean-
to probably attach them.
I
Yeah,
kind
but
of
that's
thought
the
there
thing.
would be a cable, but it would.
There
it just,
is a cable. You see a cable, but it doesn't matter. I find it to be super unrealistic in that sense as well. Then what was the whole drama about 33's head being detached from his body? If KB was able to reattach it within just that short span of a time, what was the
Yeah.
whole drama about it?
Yeah,
That
like
is the point with what I was saying. I'm sorry, I'm cutting you off again. What I was saying about the stakes,
Yeah, no,
I just
that's
don't
literally
understand.
what I was going to say. Was, you know, the stakes in the episode where 33 got his head cut off was that we was made to feel something for that character, for the droid,
Mhm.
only for it to then be ruined
Exactly.
by
And
having
Yeah.
this happened especially with 33 over and over and over again.
Yeah. They even did that when he turned into the kid killing machine, and then next
Mhm.
episode he's like, "Oh, I'm friendly again."
Yeah, exactly. Kid killing machine. I mean, in the beginning, who's the captain? I am the captain. Blah blah blah. Done. Who like kid killing machine? Oh, memory bank restored. Back. Head cut off. Back. The ship crashed. He comes out. This was one of my better landings. Like, where are the stakes? If this was made as a kids show, I find it to be still insulting to today's kids' intelligence.
I will say as well, with the ship crashing,
It's another Chewie and Ray moment.
that ship should have been totaled.
Yeah,
Okay, let's just say,
just like
I
in Bad Batch, KB deserved a noble death.
no, KB did not deserve any death, and I would have
I
been
mean,
so upset
She would have been a
if
hero.
she was dead.
yeah,
I would have been upset too. I like KB. She's a really good character, but
I think after the near death thing, then having KB die would have been that step too far.
I
Because,
think so
like,
too.
you don't do the almost death to then die in the next episode. Like, I
To
know it's
be
not the next
fair,
episode.
Walking Dead did that, and they did that very well with Glenn.
That's different though, because the
I
Walking
know.
Dead was
I know.
designed for that, but
Yeah.
you know,
I just
and the
what I
only
wanted
when
to
Glenn
say.
dies is by Negan's bat. I would have accepted nothing else.
yeah,
What I wanted to say was if KB died in the previous episode because of the lack of maintenance and so on and so forth, it would have been such a realistic and touching and good, well done death. But if I mean, also Sam's theory of we haven't seen a body, 100%. When I saw that there was no explosion after the ship has crash landed, I was like, okay, they're alive.
Another happy
I'm gonna
landing.
be
yeah.
I'm gonna be super upset, but there was no crash, there was no explosion, so they're gonna be okay. The thing about that is, for example, what I found the worst about that whole scene is where did those stupid credits come from?
They were loading while they're up in the tower. The droids were loading onto the ship.
Yeah.
Then it is my because like
Hey, I missed a cable. Remember?
I think you fell asleep
True.
on that part, Selby.
Probably I was looking at my phone and making notes. It could be.
Probably because it was very
But
subtle. It wasn't like very blatant that they were doing it.
Yeah.
yeah, that is the thing. Like there were some things that were like in your face, and there were some other things I felt like this is a continuity error because it was so tiny.
Yeah, because I think I read your notes you put at the beginning of the episode. Because the way it ended with the last one, with all the credits falling, then this
And then
immediately shows.
exactly. And then when you look to the back, and I rewinded it and looked at it again, the set design on the back is completely spotless. There is nothing there. And I'm like, huh. And then the conversation also does not fit to where it was left off from the past episode. What is that?
That threw me off.
That's Force Awakens to the Last Jedi. Same continuity.
Yeah.
I've noticed like Star Wars does a lot of continuity errors because that was one of my biggest problems too. Is like if you're gonna do something and it's gonna connect immediately after, make it make sense.
Yeah.
Because they did that with Force Awakens, where it ended with Starkiller Base being destroyed, and then we get Luke throwing the lightsaber behind him, and then we go up in space, and the Resistance has already fled their planet and being chased by Snoke. And it's like, when did they have time to do that? Because like we're missing a whole segment there, and it's kind of the same thing here. Is like they do this thing where all these credits fall on the floor. They should have at least had a droid in the background look like he was picking it up or sweeping. Bring back the sweeper droid or the kid with the broom.
Yeah. Yeah, because that clearly went nowhere. So
Yeah,
bring that kid back. He can use the Force to, sweep up.
pick it all up.
Yeah.
It took me a solid 20 seconds to understand what the reference was. Like, what are they talking about?
I did see your face look a little confused when I was talking.
Yeah.
I thought
Yeah,
it was
but
more
that
of a disgust, like rather than confusion. I was like,
is
see, like he's making fun of it again.
no, but that's
But
the thing. Like, there are so many things, so many tiny parts, people, role, like things that have been popped out up and then somehow developed, somehow not, that I cannot honestly, even though we pay so much attention and we take notes and so on and so forth, that I cannot remember for the life of me. I'm like, what was that? Because it's
Uh,
just so out of control.
yeah,
that,
it's
that is
a
because
lot
the
of
pacing is awful in this episode. Well, I mean,
yeah, like I
there are.
said, like it should have been longer.
Yeah.
The pacing is off in the entire season. Do you remember that there was a
I
kid in that one of those other at planets that was friends with one
Neil.
of the kids?
I can't remember the character's name. I can tell you that much.
Yeah,
Like when you
just a
start
girl.
saying like,
Just a. I mean, that's the thing is like I didn't notice it as much in the like up until this point. This episode is where you really notice the pacing issue and a lot of questions because like John comes out, where's the lightsaber? It's like, yep, I'm the emissary. Look at me, I got a lightsaber. That's my ID right here. Look at me, lightsaber. Boop boop. Now let's take me to the supervisor. So he goes up to the supervisor, takes the kids, and then takes Fern because he knows she's going to be an issue. If that was him, he spent a lot of time with all of them. He should have taken all of them with him, but they had to leave the heroic option for the other three. But
and
he tells the Jod, I mean, Jod tells the droids to keep an eye on them, but what's to stop Wim from sitting at the dinner table? By the way, very interesting microwave technology there. And but he's sitting at the table with his dad. He could use the yeah. Jod is not a Jedi. He's actually a pirate. But he looks at the droid like the droid is going to sit there and agree with Jod. It's like, oh yeah, Jod's here. He's an emissary. Blah blah blah. But this kid was with him. He's speaking truth. Okay, we're all connected to the supervisor, so let's prepare to capture him. Instead, William is like all scared of the droid, going, "Well, I can't say what I should be telling the droid because the droid will listen."
I agree with you on the droid part, not with the should have taken the kids all of the kids, because kids and their like parents would not have been separated, and that is like 8 to, and actually KB's mom, so 9 to 1. I think that's a ratio that you cannot handle with just shoddy lightsaber work, at
Well,
least in
I
my
mean, he had a
opinion.
blaster. He had a blaster too.
Okay. But
Hey,
yeah,
if bank robbers can go into a bank with one gun and subdue like 50 people, I think John can handle 9 people with a blaster.
could be, could be. You might be right
But
about
he's just
that.
very
But
sloppy with his work.
yeah, because he was not supposed to be wielding a light.
'Cause
But
he had a little bit of a
whatever.
moral dilemma, as much as John can have one, because
Mhm.
he did not want to hurt anybody. Like he was even distraught when he thought KB was dead. He was like, it did not need to go this way.
And because of this whole pacing issue, we didn't even get the proper conflict in him. Because I think they could have played off his conflict really well. And Jude
Mhm.
Law should have been selected for this role because of the range that he could provide there. He
Yeah,
is actually almost like a legendary actor status
I'd probably say
person,
at
and
this
he
point,
could have
wasted
done
talent.
that. Exactly. But because, and I have to disagree with you, like, not disagree. You said that you, as a person, realized the pacing issue at this final episode, but I've been telling you this from the
Hmm.
first ever recording
Yeah,
on, because it has
yeah.
never ever, I am not the picky person. Everybody on this podcast knows that I am like, if I find something that I love, I'm gonna love it.
Smoke
But
show.
Acolyte.
the pacing was so off. It was so obvious to me that like I fell asleep. And this is like, I told this to my husband. I'm like, I fell asleep on the second episode of a Star Wars show. And he was like, what? Because it has never, ever, ever happened before. Ever. Because the pacing was so off. And if they did not waste our time within that school and the assessment and blah, 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 or if they didn't waste our time with the sub story of the pirates and the pirate captain and the ship and the so on and so forth, that would lead nowhere. We could have actually had the time to enjoy the conflict of Jod thinking that he is actually the cause of death for one of the kids. They robbed us off of that
Mhm.
scene because they put an inordinate amount of whatever it was into the first 2 episodes. The first 2 episodes were honestly, pacing wise, probably the worst. And then the next part is the finale, because the finale is just, there is at least things that are happening there, but the first 2 episodes, garbage.
Maybe I'll
Sorry.
amend what I said about pacing. Maybe it's because of Acolyte's terrible pacing that I wasn't bothered by, I wasn't bothered by the Skeleton Crew's pacing. Like it didn't bother me as much because it flowed a lot better than the previous show. And it wasn't until the finale where it finally became an issue for me.
The only thing that I will concede here to you about Acolyte is that, yeah, the acting could be better. I still don't think it was as bad as you say that it is.
Just the twins,
Acting could have been better, but
Pacing,
especially the
pacing
children,
wise,
child twins.
they were awful. Like,
hey, my
But I mean, we
only,
just skip that because if they were actual twins rather than one person playing,
mhm,
because I think that's what you mentioned while we were recording
yes,
the
mhm. That's what I said. Exactly. For me, what with regards to the pacing, what Acolyte did wrong was giving that much time to flashbacks. I think that ruined the pacing. If they did
Yeah.
the flashbacks correctly, I think the
Mhm.
pacing was much better than Skeleton Crew in general. They just wasted so much time with 2 episodes of flashback.
Yeah.
Right.
Looking back at it, comparing, if we are going to compare the Acolyte as a whole season to this whole season, pacing per episode in the Acolyte was better.
Yes, I
They,
won.
but this is the key
I'll agree
part.
to that.
They did screw up
It's
the order of how they did it. You don't
100%.
I
have
think
a
it's just the flashbacks that really ruined that season for me.
you don't have a
And the acting.
as the
Those
acting.
are like my 2 issues, and the story.
Yeah, and they are
And everything about the show. I'm just kidding.
that too. No, I mean, when you've got like the writing decisions to have a flashback episode in episode 7 of an 8-episode series, and with the added, I'm not going to say the acting was bad, because again, it goes back to the whole like Hayden Christensen, Jake Lloyd thing, where they were blamed for the writing. They can only deliver the lines that they're given. I feel like it's very much that.
Their acting was better.
The acting in The Acolyte was okay. It wasn't stellar. Like,
I'd rather listen to Anakin say "I hate sand" a million times than listen to the twins acting again.
But the thing is, I agree with both of you in a sense that the twins should have been casted as like twins,
are we on about
not
the
one
older,
person.
not the younger ones? By the
But
way,
And the witches were kind of whatever. They're
the
awful.
writing and the writing for their characters were bad.
Yeah.
I think there was no way of winning on that.
So I think where I stand with Skeleton Crew, I think it's just because of all the issues I had with Acolyte. I'm seeing done way better in Skeleton Crew. Maybe not so much the pacing, but as far as the acting, line deliveries, visuals, and chemistry between all the actors
yeah.
and line delivery. Like Wim showing up on the elevator and then coming up and just the way he delivers lines was like pretty cool. It's like, I've already called the X-Wings. They're on their way.
I liked how Wim looked at the lightsaber before he lit it up this time.
That was pretty funny.
Pacing wise in this episode was awful. Like we've said it, we know it is. The line delivery and the way that the characters are portrayed is still so good. Like I have no issues with how these kids have played these characters. Like,
yeah,
and I'm
for being
not,
children, like I'm still gonna say I'm very impressed.
Yeah, like definitely. I think as fans, especially the kind of fans that we are, where we analyze things for this podcast, we cannot say a bad thing about the acting from the kids in this.
No, I can't.
It is all down to the original plan and then the pacing and everything that's out of the actors as a whole control. Because even Jude Law, like I'm not going to knock his character. Yes, there are plot holes in how he, in what his character does, but that's not him.
I did like how they kind of brought in some unity with the characters too, because like you start off with these kids who don't really know each other, they're fighting a lot, and then now they come together. This time, Wim shows up and he's like, "Oh yeah, I've already called the Jedi are on their way," and well, all the Jedi are dead. Oh well, no, there's still some because we found the crystal of the founders all the way up in the mountains, blah blah blah, and then Fern sits there and jumps in on his story to back him up. Where at the beginning of the season, she probably would never done that.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing about like Jod's character is there is no real conflict because of how badly it was made. Because if he actually had trouble, like he could have killed the kids.
Mhm.
Yeah.
He could have, or the parents. He did not hurt anyone, but because of how poorly it was written or how badly it was edited, we actually didn't get to enjoy the conflict in him. That is one thing. And the second thing is, for example, Wim, when before the doors in the supervisor's tower closes, he says, John, like, why? Is he gonna die? Is he gonna get ever? Why? It is such a good moment for that act for the actor of Wim. Such
Yeah,
a perfectly delivered line, but why?
Yeah.
What happened to
last
him?
moment to
What
reach
happened
out. He's
next?
like, you haven't heard anybody. You got a chance to change.
I mean, we
'Cause-
know that because that's how that's how Wim's
It was
actor portrayed it.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Visually, we have
Yeah.
no idea.
No,
Like
we
Yeah,
have
because the only
zero clue.
it's the only sense that we have any type of goodness in Jod is when KB is presumed dead. He kind of gets emotional about it, and then when he is yelling at Wim and saying about how the galaxy is this and that with pinches of light here and there. That's really the extent of the conflict that we get from Jod.
Yeah.
Mhm. And it is such a waste. It is a complete waste because so far, because of all of the bonding, all of the time that they have spent together, the stakes that they made us believe in, so on and so forth, he should have had so much more conflict. But because of how they arranged the pacing or how badly this was edited, we got nothing. We basically got at the end an empathy-less shell of a person who just was like, I lost the money. And we don't
He just
even
kind of
know,
gave up.
but we don't even know what happened to him.
Yeah.
What happened to him? Nothing.
So all
That's
we
the
get is
biggest
him
issue.
giving up. Like he just gives up, drops his blaster, and it's like, okay, you guys can go. Like
Yeah, that's
he's a
the
force user,
only
for
thing.
instance, with a lightsaber. Like, come on, man.
That's the
But by
only
that,
thing. That's
by the time he's
That was
given through the blaster, it was like he's already lost.
yeah.
So there is no resolution. And again, like agreeing with Fluffy and yourself, that's the problem that we've got here is that you know
Does he
we
escape? Don't know.
we have no idea what happened to him. Like that's why I would have liked the Bad Batch esque flash forward time skip because we would have then found out we would have had some answers. Did Fern's mum become the supervisor? Did Wim's dad become the supervisor? Like, did Neil's dad become the
He's a
supervisor?
level 7 systems coordinator. I'm sure he probably fixed the supervisor.
Yeah, there's so many different questions that we just don't have the answers to. So, if we had any answers about what happened to the characters, like we see the Republic or New Republic, whatever, the X Wings and the B Wings, by the way. I'm just going to say the visual of them coming in and firing their lasers, amazing. But
I actually put that down. I put X flying and the Republic landing is always cool.
yeah,
mm-hmm.
but
100%.
we don't have any payoff from it. Like
Yeah.
we have the sort of blockade runner esque. Is it a Corellian Corvette? Or am I thinking of something else? The big ship.
No, it's Blockade Runner. You're right.
Blockade runner. we see that coming in, like getting close to the planet surface. So we're assuming that it would land and there'll be an actual like meeting of Republic or New Republic and the people of Atatin. But we
Perfect.
have
Introduce
nothing.
In my opinion, the episode 8 would have been the perfect episode 7.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like at least have 3PO walk out and meet everybody, and then you kind of assume Blade is on the blockade runner and just ended at that.
I'm glad that
And
they
with the payoff not being there, I wrote this down because we've been talking about this whole show, right? Like we've been talking about it's called Star Wars, and we want to see a war, but there was no payoff for the Republic coming. It's like
Nothing.
the Republic shows up and just starts shooting the pirates. Like the pirates, like, oh, we got to retreat. Where's the dogfight? Where's the resistance? Like there was literally the Republic came in and that was it. Everything
I'm
was
telling you,
showing up.
no resolution, no conclusion, nothing. This would have been the perfect episode 7. You could basically think about it like this. Compress episodes 1 and 2 into episode 1. Get rid of all of the unnecessary school scenes, assessment, blah blah blah.
I know we call you.
Of course, there is a lot of editing needed for the rest of the season as well. Keep episode 7 completely as it is. Episode 8, I'm sorry, as it is, but make it episode 7, and then make an extra episode of actually what happened to Jod, what's up with the pirate captain, what is happening to the children, how is the planet going to move forward, and give a tiny bit of a clue about what the great work is. Done. Fantastic TV show, perfect, 10 out of 10, would watch.
And my biggest question is, why are there no maintenance droids up with the supervisor? It was so dusty up there.
Which is weird considering we then see droids up there. Because
yeah, they're just
Fern goes
soldier
for the gun.
Yeah, I thought that was funny. Fern was sitting there trying to struggle and she couldn't get the gun from the hands.
See, like this could have also been like, okay, there is like a supervisor, the droid, but that is just the the computer system. But there is actually someone who's operating it, and that
Like
is the real
Oz.
supervisor. Exactly, like the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
That could have also been something.
I thought it was funny that they're playing tug of war with the lightsaber. Kind of give me the Rey and Kylo moment. I was waiting for that thing to explode in Wim's hands.
I was just thinking that, like, I don't know. No, like the fact that he was overpowering Wim's dad physically and not letting him reach that
Lever.
whatever it is, lever, yeah, lever, lever. And then
All right,
at
Sam.
the
Who's
same
it called?
time, what's it
Lever.
called, Sam?
It's a lever.
Nowhere.
You know, there is this like Big Bang Theory thing. Sheldon said it's not sleeves, it's sleeves, so it's lever. I always
really
think about that.
He is right.
Lever.
Lever.
Fair enough.
Okay, whatever. What I was going to say was that I found it a tiny bit unconvincing, the struggle that was going on there.
It shows you
But
how worse he is.
I found a lot of things unconvincing, so I guess that's just me being petty about that one scene.
No, when Judd was trying to pull the lightsaber from Wim's hands, I was like, dude, either you're holding back for some reason because you still care about this kid, or
That could be it too. Yeah.
that kid is the Hulk.
Yeah. I mean, he's what, like, not. How old are they supposed to be? Like 9, 10, or
What?
maybe 11 or 12. I don't know, somewhere in that.
I
Yeah,
think they're between.
I'll probably say tween. So
Yeah,
he's really not that strong.
yeah.
But I mean, if John really wanted to, and we know Wim probably had the lightsaber backwards, John could have just flipped the switch.
Etymologically, a tween is a 30-year-old. So,
What?
because Tolkien.
Oh yeah, yeah. You're right. Fine, preteen.
First time the word tween was used in the Lord of the Rings, and
I did not know that.
yeah.
The more you know. And I think the other thing I wanted to talk about was the speeder bike chase, and the one character we have not mentioned. We mentioned his name once, but we haven't really talked about his arc in this episode. The little blue guy.
My baby.
He
This is
didn't
my issue.
really
This is
have
one of
much.
my issues with it.
He didn't
Is
have much
that
to do.
why have this giant cannon and see these pirates coming and blasting everything, and none of the adults are going to man this cannon? Why are they going to leave it to the little blue guy?
Do the adults know the cannon's there? Because technically, Neil only knows about it by sheer fluke if they went to the wrong planet.
Which that was the purpose of that episode, was for this moment.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that is
That's the only reason
garbage.
the episode exists.
It
Was
is yeah.
this?
And
The fact
It
that
was.
Neil was separated from the group is that his bike crashed.
I thought he got
So,
shot.
or whatever, but something happened and his bike is unusable. So he would have had to he would have had to either hide or make himself useful, and that is what he chose, to make himself
No,
useful.
but I mean, that's what I'm saying. Is like he would not have known about the cannon if it wasn't for that other
Yeah,
episode.
no.
Yeah.
And
And to
so it
justify
get blasted there because it gave his opportunity to help KB escape the planet or through the barrier.
the
But
thing is, in my opinion, to justify an entire episode of that with here there is a cannon, and also we've been all over the galaxy and there are also good people even in the worst of the planets. It does not justify an entire episode in a planet, in my opinion. It just, I think, for me, another
and
show of bad pacing.
that was just my thoughts on that. It's just like, why weren't I mean, if the parents know about the great work and everything, why would they not know about this cannon? Unless
Maybe
they're the only ones that. Well, okay, I guess in the first episode they kind of explain it because when want to be a Jedi, and they're like, "That's what droids are for."
it's like a need to know basis type thing, and I think it's one of those things that just kind of got forgotten over time, whereas the great work was ongoing. They've not
That's
Yeah.
needed
fair.
to use canon, so like that's how I saw it in this episode. But
Could be. I
the
mean,
fact it was
So that's
revealed in the other one on the other app planet, and then Neil went to it and was like, "Yay, we have a cannon." It's like, oh god, really?
yeah. I guess the other
yeah.
way to justify is maybe like the droids are the ones that operate it, but since the supervisor is down, so are all the droids. So
Could
no
be.
defense.
I mean, defense droids, and those
Mm-hmm.
droids seem to be the
Oh,
almost the
no.
only force
Mm-hmm.
on the whole planet, so that would make sense.
Yeah,
Also, we mentioned earlier the barrier coming down and everybody being awe of the night sky. That's pretty cool.
That
yeah.
was great.
It deserves
I
another.
I think I can like I also I think put it in my notes. The visuals were fantastic. The whole like from the moment the X-Wings arrived to the moment that Wim looked up at the sky and admired the X-Wings, I think it was visually perfect.
Mhm.
There are no notes I can give on that. I cannot say like, oh, I wish they made it like this, blah blah blah. No, it is just episode 8 should have been episode 7, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And there should have been a fight between the pirates and the X-wings, so the X-wings just coming in, blasting everything, and tried
Mhm.
to run. So if I'm being shot at, I'm going to shoot back. Like, let's be real. Like, you retreating and flying to space, obviously that didn't work because their main mothership got taken down.
Yeah.
That's for them to clean up too.
Again, you got all the pirates that were on that ship that we now know nothing about. Were they taken away by the New Republic? Like, we don't know. And just a simple bit to show something happening would have been better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a lot of things could have been better.
So true.
Yeah. Just sadly, there's just no resolution. So overall disappointment.
Oh,
Idea.
finally you've said that. Because I really honestly started questioning myself at some point. I'm like, am I the only one who's watching this? What is happening here? And then first Sam was like, no, 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 something is off. And then you with the final episode, and now I am happy.
You turned him against me.
Yeah, I did.
No, because you're not the only person though. Because Brecken, one of my buddies, he sat down to watch the first few episodes with his parents and his family. They shut it off after the second episode. He stuck and watched it till the end and didn't really care for it, but he messaged me saying, "Oh, the finale was awesome," and I was like, I had an opposite view of it. I'm like, I enjoyed the first 7 episodes, which you guys hated, and then I actually got a lot of positivity out of you on this one because you said you enjoyed this one more than the other ones,
I did.
and I enjoyed it, but it's just a lack of conclusion that just really kind of didn't sell it for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's the thing. Like for
Yeah.
me, so far the whole show was not just
Oh, Bart.
like everything. Yeah, exactly. It was for me. I felt like it was just watching a train accident happening in slow motion, and it was also boring on top.
Mhm.
But now, at least with the final episode, I cannot say it was boring, but it was also way too fast-paced. They stretched out way too much in the beginning, and then the editing was completely off.
Mhm.
They stretched the first 3 to 4 episodes way too much, while keeping episodes 7 and 8 way too brief with especially certain plot lines.
So, all right, guys, that concludes Skeleton Crew. Well, as far as we know, it concludes. We don't know, but we do have our next project, which is going to be Andor, which is going to be coming out in April. I think April 20th or April 21st. Can't remember, but somewhere around there, right around Star Wars Celebration. And then the next thing that we'll be discussing will be Sam's favorite, Bad Batch Season 2. So
Yay.
that one up into Urk, so be ready for that and to join us on that little adventure. But until next time, guys, we will catch you here on the Hoth Transmissions. But before you guys go, just remember to check the links down in the description to where you can find all of our social media. So you can find our Instagram and our Discord where you can join tons of other cool fans. And also check out our storefront. So check out our entertainmentearth.com. We've got tons of cool collectibles from Black Series all the way up to tons of cool licensed merch. And then if you want some t-shirts, check out our Teespring where we got some cool designs that we designed. So until next time, guys, may the force
Be with you.
Always.